Alrighty, let's wait a few seconds, and we are live. Welcome everyone who's going to be watching this or who is going to be joining us live. This is Ayni Living Conversations, where we speak from the standpoint of freedom, of living in Ayni, of living in Tao. And I'm with Sacred Blue Heron Woman. I am Julian Katari, and this is our 106th conversation. And today we're talking about the 5 agreements, 5 principles or agreements, or things you can agree to do and to follow, so that you come
truly
to
live in freedom.
To live in freedom. And you folks probably would have heard about this somewhere. I mean, because there's a famous book called The 4 Agreements, and then there's a 5th agreement book. But then this is how we apply this to our gathering of lands in freedom, which is Aloha Ayni Dao living. So by following these agreements, we are allowing ourselves to become more plentiful and to become more free. And that's the interesting thing about this. How do we apply this? How do we? And I'm eager to hear, what are you going to share about these agreements? So welcome everyone, and welcome everyone.
Yeah, welcome. So we left last week. We were talking about how our domestication process, right? How once we learned to speak, the humans that took care of us, our family, taught us what they knew, which means they program us with knowledge. And so we learned how to be men and women according to the society in which we were born. And in our human domestication, all the rules and values of our family and society were imposed on us, and we didn't have that opportunity to choose. So let's go to attention. I'm not sure exactly where I stopped, so some of this might be review, but attention. Mark Passio had said that was one of our forms of currency, I think, in his presentation. Right. Yes. Absolutely. Right?
Attention.
Attention is a channel we humans use to send and receive messages to and from each other. This is how we teach. This is how we learn, by paying attention. Right? So using our attention, the grown-ups taught us how to create an entire reality in our mind with the use of symbols when we were just little bitty people. And after we learned symbology by sound, now we had to learn the alphabet. We had to learn the language graphically. So our imagination started developing, and our curiosity got stronger, and we started asking questions, gathering information from everywhere. And now we know that we have finally mastered a language when we were able to use the symbols of this language to talk to ourselves in our head. And this is when we learned how to think. Before that, before we didn't think, we mimicked sounds. We used sound symbols to communicate. Life was very simple because we didn't attach any meaning or emotion to the symbols. But once we give the symbols meaning or emotion and use them to make sense of everything that happens in our lives, then then our attention is hooked. So by the time we get to school, we understand the meaning of abstract concepts like right and wrong, winner, loser, perfect, imperfect. And as we continue to learn to read and write, we accumulate more knowledge, giving more and more, learning more and more symbols. And our thinking now is not only effortless, it's just automatic with all this programming. So now all the symbols are hooking our attention by themselves, and it's what we know that is talking to us. And what we are listening to is what our knowledge says. So let's call this the voice of knowledge, since that is what is talking in our head. And we might hear this voice of knowledge in different tonalities. It might be our brother, our mother, our dad, our sister, our pastor. This voice never stops talking inside us. However, this voice isn't real. It's our creation, but we believe it's real because we gave it life through the power of our faith. Which means that, what does this faith mean? That we believe without a doubt what that voice inside our heads is telling us. That's what faith is. This is when the opinions of others take over our minds. At a certain point, all the opinions of our teachers, our parents, our pastors, our society make us believe that we need to behave in a certain way in order to be accepted. They tell us the way we should be, the way we should look, the way we should behave. So we start to pretend what we are not to be. We start to pretend to be what we are actually not. So the fear of being rejected became the fear of not being good enough. And so we started searching for a perfection that isn't real. We probably never noticed that we have learned to use all these symbols to reject ourselves. Before we were domesticated, we didn't care what we were or what we looked like. We were wild and free, running around naked without self-consciousness or self-judgment. We spoke the truth because we lived in truth. Our attention was in the moment, and we were not afraid of the future or ashamed of the past. After domestication, we try to be good enough for everybody else while not being good enough for ourselves, because we can't live up to this image of perfection. That isn't real. That is simply an illusion. So all of our normal human tendencies are lost in the process of domestication, and we naturally begin to search for what we have lost. We search for freedom because we haven't been free to be who we really are. We go to war to fight for freedom. That's the most stupid paradox of all. We're making war to fight for freedom. We search for happiness because we're really not happy, and we inside, and we search for beauty because we no longer believe that we're beautiful. So by the time we became teenagers, we no longer needed anybody to continue domesticating us. We learned to judge ourselves, to punish ourselves, to reward ourselves, using the same belief systems we were given, the same reward and punishment systems. So what's the takeaway here? None of us, there is not one single one of us that ever had the chance to escape domestication. We were all domesticated. So now, as we're an adult and maturing, we continue to search more and more for what is our true selves. We are searching for love because we learned that love is outside of us. We search for truth because we believe only in the knowledge we have stored in our minds. And of course, we're still searching for perfection because now we agree with the rest of the humans in the world that nobody's perfect. And that is the biggest lie ever. So everything we see and hear right now is nothing but a dream. We are dreaming right now in this moment, dreaming with our brain awake. Dreaming is the main function of our minds, and it dreams 24 hours a day. It dreams when our brain is awake and when it is asleep. The difference is that when our brain is awake, there is a material frame that makes us perceive things in a linear frame. When we go to sleep, there's no frame, no linear frame, so the dream can change instantly. But we're dreaming all of the time. So before we were born, the humans out before us created a big outside dream that we call society's dream, or the dream of the planet. And this is a dream collection of the billions and billions and billions of small dreams. So we, as an individual, have our own dream, but we are born into our family, which has a family dream. And then there's the dream of the community, the dream of the city, the dream of the state, and so on. So the dream of the planet as a whole includes all of society's rules, its beliefs, its laws, its religions, its cultures, its governments, its holidays, and so on. So, and all these are, I showed you a picture of what telescopes have shown us that dark matter is, which is this web. So the stream of the planet is all inherent in this web of dark matter, kind of like the switchboard of a telephone company. None of us are, neither you or I are old enough to remember when when there were women sitting at the switchboard there and could listen to at the telephone and could listen to everybody's conversations, right? But this is kind of an analogy we can use to see this. So society's rules, its beliefs, its laws, its religions, its cultures, its governments, its holidays, and so on. If we plug into that switchboard, into that point on the switchboard, so that's where you channel that then. So that's where last week when I had the praying mantis show up on my computer keyboard, and I finally researched it and found out that the praying mantis is actually the totem animal for Kung Fu in China. That let me know that I've actually now plugged into that ancient 5,000-year-old switchboard or line of communication.
Of the praying mantis, or
yes.
Everything? Okay.
The praying mantis is a symbol that came to me to let me know that with my Kung Fu apprenticeship and everything I'm doing, I'm now plugged into that. And that was precisely the reason why I started the apprenticeship with the Shaolin Temple.
Okay.
Was to plug into that.
Yeah.
So this is where we've got to start being really cognizant of which breaker. Let's use the analogy of the breakers in the house. Which breaker we're plugged into. So we're born with the capacity to learn how to dream, but the humans that lived before us taught us how to dream the way society dreams. The outside dream has so many rules that when we were born, our parents hooked our attention to introduce these rules into our mind. So the outside dream uses our moms, our dads, our teachers, our pastors, and all to teach us how to dream. And again, attention is our personal currency. Our ability to pay attention or focus only on what we want to perceive is our personal currency. And we can perceive billions of things simultaneously. However, by paying attention, we hold on to whatever it is that we want to perceive. And remember, we're building our bank accounts in our body. The adults around us, when we were born, hooked our attention to put information into our mind and body through repetition. That's how we learned everything we know. As we went to school, to church, sports, and so on, not only was our attention hooked, we learned to hook the attention of other humans. So we developed a need for attention, which can become very, very competitive. So this outside dream hooks our attention all the time and teaches us what to believe, beginning with the language that we speak. Because language is the code for understanding and communicating between us humans. Every word, every letter, every number in the language is an agreement. So, for example, you open a book, it's a page, right? The word page is an agreement that we all understand. It's just a symbol. We can call that page anything we want to. We can change the name of the page, right? It doesn't have to be a page anymore. It can be a leaflet. It can be a leaf, right? But we've all agreed to call it a page in a book. So once we understand this code, our attention is hooked and is paid from one person to another. So from the time we were born, we never had the opportunity to choose what to believe and what not to believe. We simply agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. And it wouldn't be the dream of the planet, it would be the planet dream of the humans. So the only way to store information is by agreement. And the outside dream hooks our attention. However, if we don't pay attention and don't agree with the hook, we won't store the information in our body. But as soon as we pay this attention and we agree with it, we believe it, and this is called faith. So to have faith is to believe unconditionally. And that's how we learned as a child. Children believe everything adults say. We agree with them, and our faith is so strong that the belief system controls our whole dream of life. And this is the process of domestication.
Mhm.
The belief systems we agreed to are like a book of law that rules our mind. Without question, whatever is in the book of law is our truth. We've based all our judgments according to this book of law, even if these judgments go against our true, divine, holy human nature. And then, because there's a law, the judge has to show up, right? And judges everything. So our judge, inner judge, uses whatever is in our book of law to judge everything that we do and don't do, everything that we think and don't think, everything we feel and don't feel. So everything in our life lives under the tyranny of this judge in our head. Every time we do something that goes against this book of law that isn't ours, that isn't even ours, right? It's in our mind. Our judge says we're guilty and we need to be punished and we should be ashamed. This happens to us many, many times a day, every other second, pretty much every second, so to speak, year after year. So there's another part of us that receives the judgments, and this part of us is called the victim. So whatever goes against this book of law in our heads will make us feel a funny sensation in our solar plexus, and that's called fear. So breaking the rules in this book of law opens our emotional wounds, and we create emotional poison, because everything that is in this book of law has to be true.
Mhm.
And everything that challenges what is in this book of law makes us feel unsafe. So it takes a great deal of courage to challenge this book of law, our beliefs in our head. All these laws exist in our mind and we've believed them for a very long time. And the judge, our internal judge, bases everything all on this book of law. So the judge decrees, the victim suffers the guilt and punishment over and over and over again for the very same thing.
Mhm.
Who says there's justice in this dream? True justice is paying only once for every mistake. True injustice is paying more than once for the same thing. So how many times do we pay for one mistake? Thousands of times. And we do this to ourselves. I'm an expert at doing that. So most of us humans are paying over and over and over again for the same thing. So we human animals are the only animals on earth that pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. The rest of our animal family only pays once for a mistake.
Wow.
The judge in our mind is fallacious, totally fallacious, and I love that word. It's fun to say. And our book of law is totally fallacious. 99.9% of the beliefs that we have stored in our book of law are nothing but lies. And we suffer because we believe these lies. And the whole dream of the planet has been based on false laws for a very long time. So if we took the time to compare the dream of human society with the description of hell that religions all around the world have put forth, we would find that they're exactly the same. Religions say that hell is a place of punishment, suffering, and pain. So we are, as a whole humanity, living in a dream of hell.
Mhm.
And no human can condemn another human to hell because we are already there.
Okay. That's pretty good. That can sound funny.
I know. Well, coming out of religion, that was one of the most powerful sentences I ever heard. So until we start challenging the book of law in our brains and silence the judge, we are living in absolute hell.
Mhm.
So all of our human family is searching for truth, justice, and beauty, and we're on an eternal search for the truth because we only believe the lies we have stored in our mind. We search for justice because in the belief system we have, there is no justice. We live in hell. We get punished over and over for the same mistake. That's not justice. We search for beauty because it doesn't matter how beautiful a person is. We don't believe that the person has beauty. So we keep searching and searching, not understanding that everything is already within us. There is no truth to find. It's all around us. Yet with the agreements and beliefs we live by, we have no eyes for this truth. And it's as if we live in the middle of a fog that doesn't let us see anything past our own nose. And that fog isn't real. That fog is our personal dream of life, what we believe and all the concepts we have about who we are, the agreements we've made with others, with ourselves, and with God. Our whole mind is a dream where 1,000 people talk at the same time, and yet nobody understands each other. This big fog is the condition of the human mind, so we can't see who we truly are, and we can't see that we're truly not free. That is why we resist life and are disciples, rigid, brittle, dry disciples of death.
Mm-hmm.
To be alive is the biggest fear we humans have. To take the risk of being fully alive, to express what we really are, is what we fear the most. And so we dishonor ourselves just to please other people. We punish ourselves endlessly for not being what we believe we should be, rather than letting ourselves be who we are. So we become self-abusive and use other people to abuse ourselves as well. The limit of self-abuse is the limit that we will tolerate from somebody else. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
The limit of our self-abuse is the limit that we tolerate from other people.
Another way to say it would be we get hurt by others because we allow them to, because we allow ourselves to be hurt that much by ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that, right? That's something Maida needs to hear. Because she's really good at punishing herself.
Oh, we all are, Julian. Yeah, we learn to punish ourselves. Nobody abuses us more than we abuse ourselves. Let me say that again. Nobody abuses us more than we abuse ourselves. It's the judge and the victim and the belief system that makes us do this. The more self-love we have, the less we will experience self-abuse.
Mm-hmm. And it's really incredible because when you in the practice of doing this, because I've been knowing about this for a while and knowing more about it from you since we are working together, and so I practice this, right? And as I do that, I sometimes I find myself allowing me not to feel guilty for something, but then there's this feeling that says it's like this empty feeling of isn't this going to cause the universe then to like you want to punish yourself because you think that way the universe won't punish you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yep. So when you stop punishing yourself, then you're all afraid of the universe going to, but then the universe doesn't punish you.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's quite amazing.
So it's really hard to get used to this freedom because there's this fear of I better behave, otherwise,
yeah,
I'm gonna get punished. Right.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So there are thousands of agreements that we've made with ourselves, with other people, and with our dream of life, with God, with society, with our parents, with our spouse, with our children. The most important agreements, though, are those that we've made with ourselves. In these agreements, we tell ourselves who we are, what we feel, what we should believe, and how to behave. In these agreements, we say, this is what I am, this is what I believe, I can do certain things and some things I cannot do, that this is reality, that is fantasy, this is impossible, and that is possible. So the result of all this is what we call our personality. One single agreement generally isn't much of a problem. However, we have so many agreements that make us suffer and fail in life. So if we really want to live a life of freedom, of joy and fulfillment, we have to find the courage to dissolve these commitments that are fear-based and bring our power home to ourselves, fulfilling our power through living a big, talented, happy life. The agreements that come from fear require a lot of energy. The agreements that come from love help us actually conserve energy and grow and expand that energy. So each of us is born with a certain amount of personal power or energy that gets renewed and regenerated each night while we sleep. Unfortunately, we spend all our personal power first to create all these agreements and then to keep these agreements. Our personal power is dissipated by all the agreements that we've created, and so we feel powerless. We have just enough power to survive each day, because most of it is used to keep us trapped in the dream of the collective human. That's not really truly the dream of the planet. It's just the collective.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? The truth is that all of our knowledge, 100% of it, is nothing more than symbolism or words that we invent for the need to understand and express what we perceive. We construct entire belief systems made of symbols. We believe an entire edifice of knowledge. Then we use everything we know, which is nothing but symbology, to justify what we believe. Everything that exists is true. The earth is true. Mother Earth is true. The stars are true. The entire universe has always been true. But the symbols we use to construct what we know are only true because we say they're true. That's the only truth there is in them. So there's this beautiful story in the Bible that illustrates the relationship between God and humans. In this story, Adam, the first man, and God are walking together around the world, and God asks Adam what he wants to name everything. So one by one, Adam gives a name to everything he perceives, and God agrees with Adam. This is a story of the creation of symbols, the creation of language, and this story and creation only work by agreement. Like I said last week, we all agree to call cat a cat. We could all agree to call it a bear, and it would instantly become a bear instead of a cat. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So, two sides of the same coin. We can say that one side is pure perception, what Adam perceives, and the other side is the meaning that Adam gives to what he perceives. So there is the material, physical object of our perception, which is truth, right? So the tree out there, that being out there, is the truth. It's not necessarily, we only call it a tree because that's the symbol we've agreed to call it. There's just that physical living being out there with leaves, with branches and leaves. That's the truth. The tree is not the truth. The name tree is not the truth. That's just a symbol we've given to that being. So the truth is objective, and we call it science. Our interpretation of the truth is subjective, and we call it art. The real truth is life's creation, and it's the absolute truth because it's true for everyone. So our interpretation of the truth is our creation, and it's a relative truth because it's only truth by our agreement. So with this awareness, we begin to understand our mind and others' minds. All of us are programmed to perceive the truth, and we don't need language to do this. Yet to express the truth, we need to use language, and that expression is our art. It's no longer the truth because words are symbols, and symbols can only represent or symbolize the truth. We need to understand this. Words Letters, numbers, symbols are no longer the truth because they're only symbols. They can only represent the truth. So, for example, here we go. We can see a tree. We can see a tree even if we don't know the symbol tree. When we were born, first born, before we started being domesticated, we could see the tree. We just didn't know that it was called a tree. Right? Without the symbol, we see an absolute truth form of creation. Once we symbolize it, then we are using our personal art to express a point of view, and now we can symbolize it even more. And it's not the tree is not our personal. We've been programmed to believe that's a tree. We could call it a jaguar for peace sake, and it would be a jaguar. It's when you start taking this in, and it wasn't until I typed it out to present it that it really started filtering into me how ridiculous our agreements are that we fight over these symbols, right?
Yeah, we fight over the semantics of things.
Yeah. Without the symbol, okay, so once we symbolize it, then we are using art to express a point of view, and now we can symbolize it even more. So our interpretation of the tree will depend on our emotional reaction to the tree, and our emotional reaction will depend on the symbols that we use to recreate the tree in our mind. So our interpretation of the tree is not exactly the truth, it's a reflection of the truth, a virtual reality. The virtual reality we create can be a clear reflection of the truth, or it can be totally distorted. So what we do with the awareness of what is truth and what is virtual is endless. The truth leads to self-possession, self-autonomy, to a life that's very easy, to a life of wu wei, that's in the flow. All of us are artists, as every symbol, every word we speak, every word we think, every thought is a little piece of art. So we're born with this awareness to perceive the truth, and we accumulate knowledge and learn to deny what we perceive. We practice not being aware, and we master not being aware. The word is pure magic, and we learn to use this magic against ourselves, against creation, against our own kind. So to be aware means to open your eyes, to see the truth and see everything just as it is, not the way we believe it is. And then we can find our true desires, our wishes, and fulfill that. Awareness opens the door to millions of possibilities. And once we know that we are the artists of our own life, we can then make our choice from all these possibilities. So as we become better artists, our virtual reality becomes a better reflection of the truth, and we create a masterpiece of heaven with our art. So many, many years ago, the Toltec created 3 masteries of the artist: the mastery of awareness, the mastery of transformation, and the mastery of love, intent, or faith. The separation is only for our understanding, as they are all only one. And these masteries guide us out of suffering and return us to our true nature of happiness, freedom, and love. So as we master or become adept in love, intent, or faith, we master the dream of our life. And when we allow all 3 of these masteries, we reclaim our divinity and become one with God, or the Tao. That's that 8th body we talked about. The mastery of our human mind requires complete control of our attention, the way we interpret and react to information that we perceive from inside of ourselves and from outside of ourselves. So self-mastery is all about awareness, and it begins with self-awareness. First, to be aware of what is real, then to be aware of what is virtual, which means what we believe about what is real. So with this awareness, we know we can change what is virtual by changing what we believe. We discussed this in the Hawaiian philosophies, right, of aloha. We'll investigate now 5 very powerful agreements that help us dissolve these agreements we've made that come from fear and deplete our energy. And every time we dissolve an agreement, All the power we use to create it returns to us, and we can then create our personal dream of heaven. So the first agreement is to be impeccable with our word. It's the story of us. And for a very long time, we as humans have tried to understand the universe, nature, and mainly human nature. We humans make a lot of effort to understand. In so doing, we make a lot of assumptions. As artists, we distort the truth and create the most amazing theories. We create entire philosophies and the most amazing religions based on these silly ass philosophies. We create stories and superstitions about everything, including ourselves. And this is the point. We create them.
Right.
We're born with the power of creation, and we're constantly creating stories with the words that we learn. Each one of us has a story that we share, a message that we deliver to ourselves and to everyone and everything around us. We are programmed to deliver a message, and the creation of that message is our greatest art. So what is the message? Our lives. Our life is a canvas. So the distinction here is between the real us and the virtual or the knowledge us. You, the physical human, is real. You are the truth. I mean, right? Your body is there. You're real. Our knowledge is virtual. It's not real as it comes from the symbols that we hear in our head and from all the opinions of all the people. We love the people we don't love, the people we know, and the people we'll never know. So our mind is full of knowledge. And how do we use that knowledge? How do we use the word when it comes to describing ourselves? So this first agreement is the most important one, and it's the most difficult to honor. It sounds really simple, but it's not, and it's really, really powerful. Why our word? Because our word is the power with which we create. It's our wand. It's the gift that comes directly from the holy ones. Through the word, you express your creative power and manifest everything. So it's like a sword with two edges. Our word can create the most beautiful dream or destroy everything around us. One edge is the misuse of the word, which creates a living hell. The other edge is impeccability of the word, which will create beauty, love, and heaven here on earth. So depending on how we use it, the word can set us free, or it can enslave us even more than we know. Our word is pure magic, and the misuse of our word is black magic. You don't have to be part of the voodoo culture of Haiti to use black magic.
Okay.
The word is so powerful that one word can change a life or destroy the lives of millions of people. All we have to do is think about Hitler, the killing fields of Cambodia. I'm sure you've told me stories of we all know the movie about Argentina, right?
All of Latin America had, except Mexico, had a dictatorship. Every single country.
So the word as a symbol has the magic and power of creation because it can reproduce an image, an idea, or a feeling, or an entire story in our imagination. So just hearing the word horse produces an image, right? The word exists because of a force, love, passion, and desire to share beauty, and the will, intention to be, and the discipline, diligence, and active intelligence making the thundering waves of grace. The word is this force. It is the intent, and that's why our intent manifests through the word, no matter what language we speak. Remember God, or the holy ones, and the ancient holy ones, and Adam talking and walking together. The holy ones create reality, and we recreate reality with our word. The virtual reality that we create is a reflection only of reality. So the word is all about the message we deliver, and not just to everyone and everything around us. It starts with the message we deliver to ourselves. Our human mind is like a fertile ground where seeds are continually being planted. The seeds are opinions, ideas, and concepts. We plant a seed, a thought, and it grows. So the word is like a seed, and our human minds are so fertile, so fertile. The only problem is that more often than not, it is fertile for only seeds of fear. Every human mind is fertile, yet it's fertile for only those kinds of, mostly only those kinds of seeds is fertile. It's been prepared for. Right? We only have to see that with how many people put on masks in 2020. Fertile for fear. More important then is to see what kinds of seeds our mind is fertile for and to prepare it to receive the seeds of love. So each one of us is a magician, putting spells on each other with our words or releasing others from a spell. We cast spells all the time with our opinions. You don't need to be a witch to cast a spell. All you have to do is open your mouth.
Okay.
To speak a word and you cast a spell. So, for example, I see a friend and give her the opinion that just popped into my mind because I watched a TV show or read a story or something or heard something. So I look at her and something seems off and I say, okay, are you okay? You don't look well. You know, I see that kind of color that is in your face in the people who are going to get cancer. So if she listened to my word and if she agrees with that, she'll start feeling unwell and then she'll run to a doctor and tell the doctor that she's worried it's cancer. And in less than a year, she'll have cancer and she'll be dead. That's how it works. That's the power of the word. So let's look at what the word impeccability means. It means without sin.
So we're done with the. Wait, no. We're still
in the first
with the word.
Yeah.
So the first one is okay.
Impeccability comes from the Latin peccatus, which means sin. Im means without. Religions talk about sin and sinners and don't really understand what it means to sin. So a sin is anything you do that goes against your true self. You sin when you judge or blame yourself for anything. You sin when you betray yourself or spread emotional poison by gossiping about yourself or others. Sin begins with the rejection of yourself. In religious terms, self-rejection is a mortal sin which leads to death. So when you're impeccable, you take responsibility for your actions and you do not judge or blame yourself. Impeccability leads to life. However, gossiping is the main form of communication in human society, and we learned how to gossip by agreement. When we were kids, we heard adults around us gossiping about themselves and giving their opinions about other people, including people they didn't know. This is gossip. And so we grew up to do the same. Gossip has become the way we feel close to each other. So if we use the analogy of our mind as a computer, gossip is like a computer virus. A computer virus is a piece of computer language written in the same language that all the other codes are written in, but with harmful intent. After this code got into your computer, it just doesn't work right anymore. So human gossip works the same way. And that is how my Army career ended, because of gossip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I bet a lot of things can end by means of gossip or.
Oh, yeah. And now we know that our. What? Sorry. Go ahead.
Word virus is like negative.
Well, that's look how many masks got plastered on faces due to gossip.
Right.
That's all it was.
Badly intentioned. Well, it was a pretty official gossip, though.
Yeah. Official.
Right.
Yeah. So now we know that our opinions are not the truth. They're just our point of view. And remember that we are the creator of our own life story. So if we use the word impeccably, just imagine the story we're creating for yourself. A happy, big, talented life of freedom, contribution, and fulfillment. So being impeccable with our word is not using the word against ourselves. If I call you stupid, it seems like I'm using the word against you, but really I'm using it against myself. When I love myself, I will express that love in my interactions with you, and that is being impeccable with my word, and then my actions will produce a like reaction. If I love you, then you will love me. If I insult you, then you will insult me. If I have gratitude for you, you will have gratitude for me. If I'm selfish with you, you'll be selfish with me. So if I use the word to put a spell on me, you're going to put a spell on me.
Mhm.
So whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement, and it becomes part of our belief system, our book of law. So how many times have we hooked our other people's attention and spread poison about ourselves or our loved ones in order to make our opinion right?
Mhm.
So being impeccable with our word is the correct use of our energy as we are using it in the direction of truth and love for ourselves. If we make an agreement with ourselves to be impeccable with our word, just with that intention, the truth will manifest through us and will eventually clear all that emotional poison that exists within our minds. It will also give us immunity from other people putting a negative spell on us. So when we become impeccable with our words, our mind is no longer fertile ground for words that come from black magic. Instead, it is fertile for words that come from love. You can measure the impeccability of your word by your level of self-love. How much you love yourself and how you feel about yourself are directly proportionate to the quality and integrity of our words.
Okay.
And that's the end of the second agreement. So we won't, or the first agreement. So we
First,
won't go for it. Yeah.
we could talk about it a little bit.
Well, the second agreement is don't take anything personally.
Mhm.
And that I think is almost even harder than being impeccable with your word. Both of these first two agreements are incredibly challenging.
Yeah. Can I say something about the first one?
Yeah.
You might help folks because I've been practicing this for a while, and the one of the challenges I can describe is that we live in a society it's so lie based on lies and so based on masking. Like everybody's like putting on a role. Nobody's genuine. Everybody
No.
is kind of
False.
playing right.
Right.
So it's a very difficult maze to go around where you want to, if you're dealing with people that are very much wanting to hurt you, right? It's like somebody. Well, I don't want to think of an example, 'cause I'm not good at that. But um, it's really hard to not lie to somebody that's lying, right? It's really hard to protect yourself from being abused by someone and keeping your word impeccable. That's one of the challenges I've met. But then I found that you can still be impeccable and not lie when you learn how to not give all the information, right? I mean,
Right.
you can be impeccable. Being impeccable with your word does not mean giving out all the information, right?
Exactly. Right. Or, and it's also, so take for instance last January when the man I was seeing, because of all his agreements, said, well, I can't have sex with you anymore unless we're married because we're unequally yoked and I'm better than you and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And what did I saw? I saw a meme on Facebook about not being a victim anymore. So what did somehow I made the shift and I said to him, if you want to dishonor and disrespect yourself like that, there's obviously nothing I can do to to stop you from doing that. However, I'm not going to join you in that. That's when I became impeccable with my word. I wasn't going to let that. It was, Ingrid, are you kidding? It was just fucking lust. How can you be an intelligent woman and think anything different? It was just lust. No, I'm not going to join you in that. I'm not going to be your victim. I'm not going to allow myself to be hurt because that's your lies. Right? I'm not going to join you in that.
And that's so it always requires a lot of creativity, a lot of being a genius, and any of these agreements I see, and in being on the path. That's I guess one of the big challenges as well. We get so used to following protocols and recipes that we can't create something. But in order to be impeccable with your word, you better create your own thoughts. You better create your own reality. You better create, a better version of what you're going to say and be impeccable. Or
right.
Within the margins of being impeccable, it's really tough.
So then, then along with that is, then you can say, well, that's just armor. Well, yeah, it in a way it is, to push it back and say, I'm not going to participate in this with you. However, then there comes this, along with this impeccability, also comes with the saying, allowing myself to say, that did hurt. I feel hurt, but I'm not going to, right? I'm not going to be his victim. I'm not going to be like, well, he's just a fucking asshole. I'm going to go to the mirror and I'm going to look into my eyes and go, why did that hurt? Those words, as you're intelligent woman, you should know better. Those trigger, right? Probably those are the most triggering for a lot of us. That goes back to, how much do I love myself? I am intelligent enough to know that you're fucking lying to me. Right? So why am I letting that hurt? Well, it goes back to a deeper wound. So this is now an opportunity to look at that wound and allow that emotional poison to clear.
Right. There we go. Wow. Okay. So yeah, a little more, some more hints on how to follow this agreement, which is not that simple. So
yeah, it's many layered. It really is, and it always goes back to the Taoist. The part of the Tao is feeling, bodily experiencing. This is where you're becoming fully carnally human, is fully experiencing this, allowing yourself to feel the hurt and then go, why is it hurting? He didn't do it to me. It's inside me that it's hurting.
It's how you
I'm not going to participate in your unimpeccability, but now I have to acknowledge that this hurt, and it's my responsibility.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to go into the second one?
Yeah, we're 3 minutes from so this is actually, this is last week we talked about right, we took a spin through the elements, and he asked how. So interestingly, that's what we'll delve into right now. So he asked how to work with that. Well, so what did I say last week? Metal fall is the lungs and the intestine, the large intestine, right? So back in August, I discovered this Swiss family. You'd like that I've shared music with you, Esches Diedritten, right? Incredibly happy, joyful family, joyful, happy music. And at that point in time, I decided that I wanted it to be that radiantly happy. So I started making my mantra, I am radiantly happy. So as I'm doing my Kung Fu apprenticeship training and I'm holding these static postures, these statically dynamic postures of releasing and clearing, I'm singing the words to myself, I am radiantly happy. I am radiantly happy. I am radiantly happy. And that was empowering my lungs. That was working. That was building my lung strength, because then as it came up to Labor Day weekend, even 3 weeks before fall season really truly showed up, I was purging all this grief out of my lungs as I was becoming radiantly happy. And I had to work with it. I had to allow it. I had to acknowledge. That's one way of is choosing a mantra that goes with the virtue of each organ and really bringing that into your body, and that will help purge all the toxic emotional poison that comes from all this book of law that lives in our DNA. That's totally 100% fallacious.
So you set the stage for the 4 agreements or the 5 agreements, because you talked about this big agreement this book of law you call, that's, I think, even better than whatever is found on that book. I really liked it. And then we've talked about thoroughly about the first agreement, and I guess we're gonna take another session to finish the agreements.
Yeah, probably.
Or maybe more than one.
Maybe more than one, yeah.
Right, but I think it's really good that we take our time and that we explore and that comment about, try to give some hints and about how do you actually practice this? What happens when you practice it? What was my experience when I practiced it?
Yeah, that's the important part is what are these? And that's part of this journey of Aloha Ayni Tao living, is becoming fully carnally human and fully divine. So what does it mean to be fully carnally human? It means to feel everything. And this is part of the waterway of Taoism, is as you refine and refine and refine, you can even feel your liver working. You can, one of the breathing meditations that to start with of this is focusing on your breath so much that you feel the inflow into your nostrils and you can feel each hair in your, that's fine-tuning your energy. That's fine-tuning your attention.
Your senses.
That takes work. That takes focus. That takes attention. And if you're paying that much attention to feel the air moving through your body, you don't have time to be paying attention out there and gossiping about someone else.
Or getting intoxicated by all that negative gossip that's out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So much more to learn, so much more to share, huh? This is barely getting started, and we're 106 hours of conversation into it, and it's barely getting started. So
yeah, still scratching the surface.
Time to get excited then. Time to get involved. Time to get engaged in this. Anybody that's here, please don't let this pass as just some nice thing you saw. Please make it transform your life, truly. That's what our intention is. And so we leave the invitation, no changes in the time, for the 107th second part of the 5 agreements, next Wednesday at 8 Central Standard Time.
Starting with, don't take anything personally. So the question for anyone who might be listening or who might see this throughout the week is to start asking yourself, how on earth do I not take that personal? How am I taking, or ask yourself when someone says something that you get all up in a dander about, am I taking this personally?
Yeah, it's oh wow, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, it would be great if somebody can tell us how this next agreement is not so easy to follow, because it is quite challenging.
Oh, this one is incredibly challenging. Incredibly challenging.
And
Yeah.
so, okay, so there you go. You got everybody has homework, and we'll see each other next week then.
Great. Yeah.
So cut the live stream.